Okay guys, welcome to another Two Stupid Gamers video. Last time we had to abruptly stop because we are very possibly at the final boss of this game, which is why we're starting this episode off mid cutscene. Let's take it away. Let's find out what's going on.
I mean, we're at the start of the cutscene. It's not mid cutscene.
I saw an exclamation mark go off. I think that counts as mid cutscene. Yeah, so we got Lady Rhea, one of the twin goddesses, and Dale, who's got the black pearl behind him.
He kind of looks like Alucard.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we're about to hit the final boss, so this might get kind of brutal.
Oh boy, we're gonna get our butts kicked.
Very likely. But since we kind of had to abruptly stop and there was more that we wanted to talk about, Zero, would you like to continue a little bit of our discussion about the Nintendo Direct 2, the Nintendo Switch 2 Direct?
I mean, sure, I'll give out some final thoughts. So we were all... One of the things we mainly complained about when it came to the Nintendo Switch 2 was the fact that Nintendo is kind of forcing our hands when it comes to, you know, either buying it physically, paying a premium, and I mean a premium for it, or buying it digital for maybe a little less money. Is that Nintendo also, to regather my thoughts and to actually put a bow on it, yeah, we don't really like it. We don't really like the fact that Nintendo is kind of forcing us to buy stuff digitally, especially because we prefer our games to be physical. Like, we can trade our games, we can share our games indefinitely or not at all. I mean, heck, I just shared games with my younger brother and one of my friends, the Bartender of Time, which, you guys have seen on the channel way back in the day. I lent him Bomb Rush Cyberpunk, and he's loving it. He didn't even know the game existed.
Yeah.
And instead of having him buy it himself, I'm just like, dude, I already beat it. Play it. Like, that's the kind of stuff, me as a gamer, I like to do. If Mash and I want to share a physical game, like, heck, when Mash got his PS5, I either gave him or lent him a handful of games so that he can test out the console and have fun. You can't really do that with digital games. However, about a week ago, Nintendo did announce the digital cartridge program. Mash, do you know what that is?
Yeah, I thought, I was thinking of that earlier today too. I thought that was kind of interesting because right before they announce a brand new console, they're gonna do something major with the old console where you can share digital games. It was such an interesting choice that they made. But yeah, basically what you can do once this goes live, which I think is sometime mid-April, maybe a little bit later, but basically just like you can share games, physical games in real life, you will be able to share between different consoles your digital copies of your games. So if you download a game from the eShop, like a digital only copy of a game on the eShop that you've been playing on your account, you can lend that game to your friend. Now, the interesting caveat, though, is that it expires after 2 weeks. So yes. You then have to do it again, I guess, if the person wanted to continue playing, if they never finished it. I thought that was kind of weird. But
you're also missing another caveat.
Yes, sir.
So in order to share a game, not only do you have to have Nintendo Switch Online, but this person also must be within your Nintendo Switch Online account family plan, to my understanding.
Right.
So if me and my brother wanted to share a game, he has 2 weeks to play it, and then, we would have to... Also, you have to be physically next to the person, or, physically in front of the other Switch that you want to borrow the game from.
Right.
So you have to physically do it, which, is fine. You would have to do that physically, with a physical game anyway.
which as an aside, I kind of feel like that's a little bit nostalgic for the days when we had to physically get together to like trade Pokemon with 2 consoles with like a cable,
Yeah.
you know. But yeah, continue.
So that part I'm not upset about. What I am upset is that, like we get these ridiculous limitations where like they could have easily just said, all right, anybody on your friends list who also has Nintendo Switch Online, you can share games with. No, they have to be in your family plan. And the problem is, like, you can only have up to 8 people in your family plan. So I would have more people in my plan, obviously. Right now it's just me, my brother, and someone else. I won't actually say it because I don't want to possibly maybe sort of kind of maybe get in trouble. Who's not technically family, but whatever. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. But yes, I'd only be able to share my game within those 2 people.
Yeah.
And that kind of sucks because I have way more friends and family that I would love to be able to like share the game with. It's just not a possibility.
Yeah.
So sure, it's an initiative. It's something that I prefer to have than not. But all it does is that it kind of Nintendo's obviously trying to force us to go mostly, if not all, digital.
It's weird, but I will say, while the limitation that you pointed out just now definitely also kind of pulls the rug out from under us a little bit, I think it's still okay because we've never seen a service do this. Like,
I mean, unless we count the ridiculous amount of sharing that we did during the PS3 era.
Okay, you're right. Yeah, and you're right. And I was just about to bring that up, but yeah, no, not including that, because really, in like the last maybe 4 or 5 years, you don't really get to do that with some of the modern consoles. You know,
you can maybe share with one other person. My brother and I still share digital games between our PS5s, and it's not like anything like crazy illegal. It's more like having my account active on his PS5 while I have his active on mine.
All right. Well, while I'm trying to be a defense attorney for Nintendo over here, you keep poking holes in the argument I'm making.
I'm just being as transparent as possible.
I guess what we can say instead is, well, we haven't ever seen this with Nintendo before.
No, not at all. If anything,
Yeah.
Nintendo was the last company I would have ever expected to see this from.
So this is basically like, for them, it's a baby step. It's just, again, to me, it feels like such a weird move. Like, I want to sit there and analyze, like, what is there some intent behind this? Because I just don't get it. Usually when a console is on its way out, it doesn't really make sense to do much more with it. But this is actually kind of an awesome feature. Hell, I would even say that this probably is a great way to like keep people on Nintendo Switch 1 as opposed to have them go on Nintendo Switch 2, you know?
I mean, the thing is, though, this feature is going to be available on the Nintendo Switch 2 as well. So it's not just a Nintendo Switch 1 thing. They're going to release
confirmed? Was that 100% confirmed? Because I didn't see that in the Direct.
I'm fairly positive. Also, I don't think they need to announce it in the Direct.
Real quick. That needs a citation. So before we put this out, we'll definitely have to run it in post, or if not, guys, double check it, because I do not remember seeing that in the Direct.
No, it wasn't. I don't think it was not in the Direct, because in the release video that they did for this program, I'm like 90% sure they said that it was going to be for Nintendo Switch 1 and 2.
Oh, okay. So
this was like a week and a half ago that it was announced. So.
Yeah. Cool. Well,
but yeah,
it still seems like a weird thing to include Switch 1 at this point. I feel like because they have a new console coming out, to me, usually the way that a game company would do it is they would they would basically just like let the old console die. And not that makes me happy, but I just feel like it's so weird for them to do something like this. But in another sense, I'm not always happy with the way that Nintendo handles itself and manages their different consoles and their ecosystem, their platforms and stuff. So when they announced that, I was kind of like, oh my god, that's actually really cool. What's up, Nintendo?
No, dude. The fact that we're finally getting freaking in-console chat, like text and voice, like Nintendo, why did it take you so long? I mean, you're doing something right, but dang. Also, we're getting a camera finally for a Switch console.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'm too much of a pessimist, but I wasn't crazy about the I was not crazy about the camera or about any of the chat stuff or putting faces into Mario Kart. I just kind of, while that was going on, I was kind of gritting my teeth and I was like, like, Nintendo, when are you gonna get away from gimmicks? Like, when are you just gonna when is it gonna be like, okay, we're done? I mean,
Mash, don't be silly. You know Nintendo's gonna Nintendo until Nintendo ceases to be Nintendo.
yeah,
Which is never.
Yeah, but
All right? You gotta understand. No. You gotta understand. They've been the gimmick box since the start of, like, their console career. The original Nintendo, they didn't have to do it in Japan, but they did because the second player controller had a fucking microphone, which rarely, if ever, got used. They also released freaking special cartridges, not even cartridges, like magnetic discs, because it was supposed to be cheaper and it was an attachment to the original, like, NES in Japan.
yeah,
We didn't get that here. What we got was freaking Rob the Robot, which was a hunk of plastic that moved one or two pieces around for like 2 games. A gimmick if we've ever seen it.
yeah. I mean, look, I get that. I get that Nintendo is the gimmick station and stuff, but I just honestly expected that this time it wouldn't be. I don't know. I just figured that at some point they would learn, like, to just go away from that. And although the gimmick of the Switch is still a gimmick, it actually worked out incredibly well. People loved the Switch. People enjoyed being able to take their games on the go or play them at home. So I just kind of thought that, well, if they're gonna have a gimmick, they'll probably do, like, a smart one. And
What
instead,
the hell is going on?
I keep getting sucked in. And instead, what we're basically getting is, oh, this is for people that don't know how to use Discord. It's like,
Yeah.
Nintendo, this issue has already been solved. And
You might
yes,
want to find a way to heal.
there is no heal. And yes, while we can also argue that, like, PlayStation and stuff has PlayStation also has its own in-game chat and stuff like that. It's not like a major feature that needed to be advertised. That it almost feels to me like Nintendo was parading out during their world premiere Switch 2 Direct, and they're like, guys, we did it. We figured out sliced bread. Look at sliced bread. It's so awesome, guys. You can have it whenever you want. You can put it in a sandwich. And here I'm just sitting. I'm like, bro, I'm literally, like, on Discord where I'm watching most of my friends, like, already be in a chat while they're most likely already playing games. I'm like, why is this a major feature of the game? It just doesn't make any sense. As I die. But yes, point being, to me, I didn't see the point of that. To me, I didn't see the point of the camera. First off, I could care less if my face is in Mario Kart or not. I've already come to the existential dread. I've already come to terms with the existential dread that comes with knowing that I will never actually be a character in Mario Kart because I'm a real human being. So I don't need to have my face in Mario Kart, to feel happy. But yeah, I don't get it. I just don't understand. And part of me, to take it a step further, since we complained so much about the pricing and stuff last time, the really, really cynical part of me is just sitting there going, how much of this is just them justifying the $450 price point, you know? How much of it is like, wow, look at these features, camera, microphone, this, that. This thing does everything. And part of me is like, you know, how about you just take the camera and the mic feature out and make mine $300 flat? Like, how about that? I could
Wait.
totally go for that because I'm never gonna use those features.
Let's be. I have to ask.
Yes.
Is the camera included?
No, it's not included. It's an attachment that you buy, and the pricing is apparently $50. But the microphone is with all of them. They made like a whole big deal commotion with the presentation that basically, hey, this camera has really good audio, and it's like you're gonna be able to like talk while there's stuff going on in the background, and all your friends can hear you. So the camera part of it is like packed in. Yeah. And look, I'm not trying to be that cynical that like, hey, if this is something that you're looking forward to and that you enjoy, I'm trying to disparage you from it or something like that.
Yeah, it's not like we're trying to say the Nintendo Switch 2 is horrible. That's not what we're trying to say.
No, I'm just being extra critical, which I have to be because you're asking me to pay $450 for a console, and you get out there and you tell me that one of the things that you're so proud of putting in this console is chat, which I have been doing with my friends while playing games for the last like 8 years without problem.
No, and that's multi-console, mind you. Multi-console chat and like text and voice and video. Like both Microsoft and PlayStation have integrated Discord. It just makes sense.
And Spotify and you know tons of other features and stuff like that. It just
Nintendo refuses.
Yeah.
Well,
there's also the kind of and this also was kind of in the back of my mind, but you have to think about safety too, because a lot of kids use Nintendo. So unfortunately, we live in a world where that could pose a risk for parents and kids and stuff. So I think Nintendo has always been weird about the issue of in-game chat, partly because of that too. But in that sense, it's like, well, just embrace it. You know, you're gonna be a console that chat isn't really such a big deal. For those of us that are adults and that have Discord, we can just use Discord and it's not really a big deal. And you could still protect kids from, you know, potential harm because they're not gonna have to be exposed to whatever, stupid people online or criminals and dangerous people online, you know?
I mean, that's why, you know, you have parental control options. Like, I still remember my 2DS having parental control options and thinking to myself, excuse me?
But Zero, some people don't. Some parents just don't get that stuff.
Yeah,
they'll just think like, look, the big scary consoles are the PlayStation and the Xbox because that's where all the bloody games are. Nintendo is safe. Nothing bad happens on Nintendo, so they'll just buy it, and they don't even bother. I think I'm convinced that there is a select few parents that use parental controls and stuff. But for the most part, the like vast majority of parents probably they're not even aware of how to access the controls. You know?
Yeah, if there's one thing that I've learned as I got older, people are just freaking lazy. Lazy as hell. They don't want to read a manual. They don't want to watch a tutorial. They just want to set it down and just let it happen. Or like expect things to work a certain way.
But to give people credit to, give some parents credit to, it's also time. It's also just kind of, to be honest, some parents just aren't like great with technology, tech savvy, and the like UI can be kind of confusing. Hey, shout outs to you guys for getting, gifting me a PS5. I love that thing. But I will say, there are lots of times when even I am confused of what's what and where's where because it's something that's new to me. So, you know, sometimes they just also don't know where to go to access all those things.
No, I'm not going to lie. The first month or two dealing with the PS5 UI, it didn't feel as second nature as the PS4 UI was. And it obviously was not as simple as the PSP/PS3 UI.
Yeah.
Because let's be honest, the easiest UI to use, absolutely, I will argue this till the day I die, PSP and PS3. It was easy. It literally told you, this column, games. This column, pictures.
I absolutely love the cross media bar.
This is not hard to understand. Like that sort of stuff. I'm like, yo, why can't we have UI like this? No, so many people complain about the PS3 UI. I was like, what are you talking about? This thing's simple. No, I don't like it. I don't get people. Anyway, so I don't blame you for, well, I don't blame anyone for looking at these newer consoles and going, oh, I don't get this UI.
No,
Because
I mean,
for the first month or two, I was still getting used to the PS5.
I can think back to actually a moment when I had to help a relative because they had to reset their Switch, and it all came down to the Nintendo. They had to reset it. They were locked out of something for their Switch, and even it took me ages to figure out how to do it. But it all came down to like the Switch One gave you these kind of backup codes. They gave you like 10 backup codes, and if you ever were in a situation where you had to like get back into the Switch and you were locked out, one of those codes was necessary. So it came down to, thank God my relatives saved those codes. If they hadn't even think to save those codes, I you know, whatever feature they were trying to access, they just weren't going to be able to use it anymore, or they'd have to factory reset their Switch. So sometimes these things just are not like properly designed, or they're not like made very user friendly.
They're really not. Especially anything having to do with Nintendo, especially like once their consoles needed UIs. The Wii was fairly simple. The Wii U was less so. The Switch and the Switch was fairly simple, but to get certain things done, you're right. Certain loopholes you have to go through. You have to go to websites. That I don't like. Hell, even just to chat on the Switch, you need a freaking app on your phone, separate from your console.
Yeah.
Gross. So yeah, hopefully console manufacturers will understand that overcomplicating things doesn't make anybody happy.
No. Well,
holy heck, something's happening.
I believe
you beat the final boss, I believe, right?
Well, actually, this is the first chapter of the game, guys. So thank you so much for joining on this. We'll catch you in the next episode. No. Yeah, that was definitely the final boss. We took out Dallas. Lady Rhea, Lady Fina had purified him into dust, and or they purified the Black Pearl. But that's basically it. There's no more game after this now, unless of course players then want to play as one of the other two characters, because there's two other characters that you could play as, which I've mentioned this before. It's a little bit strange because the first two that you have unlocked that you could choose between, if I'm not mistaken, are not canon. So what we just played, about 20 some odd hours of content, was not actually canon. So if you want the canon story, you're gonna have to go play I believe is the I'm forgetting his name. Yeah, if you want the canon story, I believe it is the third secret character that you have to play as,
which you can only unlock after playing the other two characters' story.
I think that was only in the original. When I was doing some research, I believe they fixed it, so now you only have to play one full playthrough before getting to that character.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so it's a little bit less crappy.
That's still quite a bit, because this took us forever.
Yeah, well, like I said, the game is fairly linear. If we weren't being content creators and like chatting about everything under the sun while we were doing this, and also taking insanely long breaks between playing it, you can get through this game really easily. You're not gonna get lost. It's almost too simple in how linear it is, but that's kind of the fun part. Sometimes you load up an RPG, especially a JRPG, and you just get like lost, and you're like, oh man, I don't know where to go, I don't know what to do. You know, you miss one dialogue of text and you've basically like soft locked yourself. But here it's kind of just like you're just doing basic level exploration and puzzle solving, like very simple puzzle solving. You're good to go.
Mm-hmm. I will say this though, holy crap! Thank goodness you went back and actually, grinded a couple of levels in, because I've seen you go against bosses, and we've gone through episodes where you've just done nothing but get wrecked by a boss. I still remember that big old worm fire guy and just watching you bite the dust 10 times in a row, and I'm just like, and Master's got some grit. That's all I'm gonna say. He's got grit. Because I would have,
100%.
I would have let my internal screaming out. Let's just say that.
Yeah, no, 100%. Well, I think about it this way. This is like my third or fourth time playing this, so I already know what to expect. But yeah, like in between episodes, that grinding was so helpful, because even I was kind of starting to notice it. These last 2 episodes from this final recording that we're doing of this, feels so sad for me to say that, but there was nothing that really like posed much of a challenge. Yes, I died once, but that was because I couldn't figure out specifically what I was supposed to do. It took me too long to figure out the trick to the final boss. But once I did, yeah, I mean, it was a lot easier because I was just so beefed up as Yunica. I believe I maxed her out fully. Well, sorry. Okay, there's probably a piece of armor that I can up. Maybe there's another piece of armor or something else that I'm missing. I'm not saying 100% full, because this is still an RPG after all. So maybe there's some equipment that I missed. But as far as like just kind of getting through it, basically like all the blessings were there. I'm pretty sure I had all of the regular armor, the like base armor maxed out. Yeah, like I spent a lot of time leveling and grinding and making sure that we were prepared to finish this out, and to finish this out properly, and now we did.
No, seriously. I mean, you're the one who put in most, like 99.9% of the work. I maybe played 2 episodes out of this whole thing.
Yeah, it kind of became like that.
And that's that's kind of on me, but also like if I had played more, let's be honest, we probably would still be 1 or 2 episodes behind. I don't have the experience, to know what to do or how to handle things.
Yeah.
And also lag affects me very, very deeply. Like, if anybody ever challenges me to a game of Street Fighter 6 or any fighting game, and somehow 2 or 3 frames of lag just get in there, I'm losing. 100% I'm losing. I can't handle it. For some reason my brain and body just go, well, turning off now. Can't accommodate for this. And especially in a high stakes game like Yeast, let's be honest, it's pretty high stakes. Like, especially when you go into these dungeons and you're just surrounded by demons.
Yeah.
You got to be careful.
When you encounter lag, it actually reminds me of a thing that one of our mutual friends said about another one of our mutual friend. But we have a mutual friend that is incredibly good at fighting games, plenty of them. And our buddy Bulb, I remember at one point he said that this friend is so good at fighting games that when you play against him, it's like someone unplugged your controller. That's you when you deal with lag.
I know who you're talking about. I was about to ask.
You don't need to ask.
I want to counter that and say it's not that he's good. He is, pretty decent. I wouldn't say he's like great, because you put him against like a person who really knows what they're doing, he's not really winning. In my opinion, at least.
Yeah.
I wouldn't bet on him winning. I will say this though, if you're a sort of casual gamer playing certain fighting games and stuff like we are, and you go against this particular friend, the problem you have when playing against him is more like brain lag than physical lag. Because this guy plays the most unhinged, or more like the most unorthodox characters you would see in a fighting game. And then he doesn't taunt you, but more like does stuff that makes you question reality, and then by the time you're done questioning, you're getting smacked. Like in Super Street Fighter 4, he played Rolento. An unorthodox character in itself, because that character likes to set traps. He uses a baton to do most of his attacks, but he also uses it as a pogo stick.
Yeah.
From time to time. And he's the only character that kind of hops as like a normal move. So like you go in and try to kick him and he's hopping in the air and you're like, okay, I'll just wait for him to land, only for him to land and then pogo stick up. And you're like, wait, what? So like you're questioning reality at that point. And you're like, I thought I was, whatever, I'll just wait for him to land. Pogo sticks again. Okay, wait, I'll just have to wait. No, he finally landed that time and now you're getting smacked. Like that's the kind of stuff that I'm talking about.
Yeah. I mean, I'll say this much, because I don't really know as much about fighting games as you guys do, but one day I was at a random indie game event. This is not a fighting game event. I wasn't at Evo. I was just at a random indie game event, and there happened to be a new indie fighting game there, where of course when they go to events they like to do tournaments, so they did a tournament for it. And who did I see that took, I think it was first place, maybe second place, but that definitely took like top 2. But it was that friend in particular, and I even tagged him on social media. I'm like, was this you? Because he didn't use his, because you know, I mean, I didn't actually see him there, so I had no idea. And he's like, oh yeah, that was me. And I'm like, of course.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
Like,
for real.
no one had played that game before. No one knew the controls that well. This particular friend of ours, he's really good at finding the annoying character and exploiting their unorthodox movesets.
I wish I had that skill. Pick up any fighting game and just kind of get to the heart of it. But anyway, we've certainly done a lot of distracted dialoguing in this. The game is over, obviously, because we have the credits scene. So since we're finished with another playthrough, it's time for us to give our verdicts, our review of the game as we traditionally do. Zero, would you like to go first?
You know what? Sure. So I want to sort of categorize this game as a beat 'em up, but I kind of can't, because even though it kind of works like a beat 'em up in a sense, it's also different. It's more like a dungeon crawling action RPG beat 'em up, you know? And I'm not against that. Hell, we played plenty of beat 'em ups on this channel. I played a couple beat 'em ups on my own. So I do like that aspect of it. Because I'm not a Yeast fan, I wouldn't see myself playing this game on my own. I wouldn't see myself picking this game up and being like, right, I'm going to get into Yeast. I'm going to play this game for hours. I'm going to beat this shit. I'm going to have fun with it. I wouldn't see myself doing that. I also have to remember that this game is quite old. Like we just saw right now, it just passed. It came out originally in 2006. This game is almost 20 years old. It's 2025. It's been that long. And for a 19-year-old game that has a lot of content to it, I'm assuming tight controls. I don't think I've touched this, in the same room as you in a long time, so I wouldn't be able to tell. But it does seem like the controls are tight. There's a lot of exploration. There's a lot of story. I think this game is great for anyone that simply wants, a deep story to get into. I mean, I do have to ask, because I'm not the biggest Yeast fan, obviously. Does this story connect to any previous game?
So this would basically be like it's in the name. It's an origin story. So it's
Gotcha.
kind of like a prequel.
All right. So that actually I would say is a plus, because if I were to be one of the people that would like to get into Yeast, because I saw the gameplay, heard a little bit about the story, having a modern way to play this, because it's on PS4 and Switch, right?
This is on like everything.
Yeah, it's on everything. It's accessible, so that's a major plus. If you want to get into it, start from the beginning, this is a great way to do it. It's accessible, so that's a plus for me. I love the 3D environment. I will say I would have wished that they used 3D models for the characters, but I also understand like using pre-rendered will allow the game to run faster, especially back in 2006. I get it, so I'm not going to really complain about it. It's an aesthetic that I actually kind of like. That's one of the main things that I saw about this, and I said, wow, I haven't seen a game look like this in forever. Like, pre-rendered graphics aren't really a thing anymore. So that's a plus for me. I like it. I will say this though, the grinding, you're gonna have to explain to me whether they have this or not. Is there a mode where you wouldn't have to grind too much, like a normal, easy, hard mode?
I believe there is difficulty, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, I mean, they tend to be kind of grindy.
Yeah. And again, being an adult, like, I just don't have time for grinding. Back in the day, as a teenager or like child or kid, absolutely, I would have done all the grinding, no problem. But let's assume that this does have an easy mode where you don't have to grind as much. Hell yeah. So I don't have really too much to dock from this thing, because the game does look like fun. If you like dungeon crawling, if you like RPG elements, if you like hack and slashing, that's what I should have said at the beginning, a hack and slash dungeon crawler. Because hell, who hasn't wanted to just come back home from work or school or whatever and just mow down enemies? I've done that plenty of times, with certain games. Ninja was one of my favorites for that. But anyway, I digress. This game, this game is what's the word I'm looking for? A time capsule of how games used to be, or how games used to act back in like the 2000s, mid 2000s. And I think for anyone who wants a gaming experience like that, you can't really go wrong. I'm gonna go ahead and just give this game 4.5 unobtainable crystals out of 5.
Very nice.
Very nice.
Well, while I do agree with some stuff, do disagree with other things.
Absolutely, we're different people, and you're also a bigger fan of this franchise than I am.
I absolutely have to give my verdict now, because now it is my time. But yeah, I think I can definitely see where Zero's coming from with how parts of the game can feel dated. There really would not be much of a way to avoid that, because this isn't like
it's
a remaster.
Yeah.
This isn't really like a remaster or anything. This is kind of just like maybe like a slightly up-res port. They, kept most of the game the way it is. I will say it does look really nice on my TV.
Yeah.
It does look really nice if you play it even on Steam, but it's just such an important game, in my opinion, to Yeast fan, because I think by this point we definitely didn't have 8. Obviously we didn't have then 9 and 10. The series didn't quite get to like trying to be super big budget or bigger budget JRPG, like whatever, your Final Fantasy, your Xenoblade, where they're trying to really focus on this big world and what you can do in this big world. But there was already kind of the beginnings of that with some of the games that were coming out. With Yeast Origin, playing this after playing something like 8, playing this after playing 9 and 10, I appreciate a more modern Ys game that's in isometric top-down style where the characters are a lot smaller. I would almost consider that the graphics here look very familiar to the old Final Fantasy games, 7, 8, or 9, or even like the Final Fantasy Tactics series or something like that. I just appreciate it because while I absolutely love the Ys series, there are times where I feel that unfortunately, the company just isn't big enough to put out something like Xenoblade or Final Fantasy. So when they try to make a big open world, there are, in my opinion, some pain points. But with something like this, it's just a game that with something like this, it's a game that they can put out, and there's really not going to be a pain point with this game. You can just make the Ys game exactly the way that you want it. You can make the story the way that you want it. You can have the features that you want, the abilities that you want, because it's a more simplistic game to design. And really, I don't feel like Ys as a series necessarily necessarily benefits from going big, trying to be bigger, trying to be more open world, this kind of stuff. In the same way that I feel like Fallout as a series doesn't necessarily benefit from being big and robust in 3D, because with those games, the old school Fallout games were still good. They had great stories, they had great RPG elements, and you kind of lost a lot of the fun creative side of the RPG to the Fallout series by making Fallout 3 and Fallout 4. A little bit less with New Vegas because Obsidian is great, but I digress. I love the fact that they made a prequel, so we get to see a Ys game that's before Adel. I love the music. I absolutely love the grinding, and while I also agree that I'm an adult and I don't have time, this is just fun and leisurely, gaining new abilities, gaining access to the next area. Gaining new types of enemies to fight, and then the enemies will have like a certain kind of like defense mechanism that you have to learn to deal with. It's just, to me, it's just all gravy. And yeah, like, again, the more I think about it, plus the replay value, while in a sense kind of cheap that they made it that the first story you play isn't canon, I still appreciate that there are other stories that I can experience. So yeah, I'm not going to say it's my favorite Ys game, because we already made a video about that, and I encourage everyone to go check that out. But I will say that for this game, I'm going to give it 5 out of 5 Black Pearls. And that is my final answer. Heck
yeah.
I had to do it. I don't feel like I've given a 5 out of 5 before, but I had to do it for this one.
I don't think I've given out many, if any, 5 out of 5s.
Yeah.
Like, I always dock half a point or a full point, depending on the game, because, man, there are things that will annoy me about a game, and, like, it's hard. It's hard for me to do. So, like you mentioned it, this game kind of makes you go through a whole game, like a whole story, and it's not even freaking canon. Like, that's where I'm like, I have to sort of like consider that as a point where I can dock a place where I can dock a point, right, or half a point. And again, because this is a port, they could have also done maybe a little bit more. Maybe add a filter here or there. Maybe, again, I didn't see it anywhere. But they could have made it more apparent that you can like change the difficulty on a whim. Like, you can just press the start button and like change the difficulty if you're having trouble here or there.
Well, just to kind of interject real quick, I don't want people to come away from this thinking that they didn't do anything with this version.
No,
because
they did.
As I recall, in the newer versions, like I said, you don't have to play the two first stories to get the third canon. But also, they added arena mode too. So there's a whole other mode to this game, which again, it just gives you additional replay value. So I just want to interject real quick, just to kind of make it.
Oh, absolutely.
They definitely added stuff for this most recent release of this game.
Please do. I mean, you know way more about this than I do. I'm sort of just talking out of my own, what I'm seeing, and what I've mostly seen is you get your ass demolished countless times in countless dungeons with countless bosses. And I'm just like, damn, guys.
It was a journey.
It was definitely a journey that you mainly footed the bill for. Let's be 100% honest here.
And I was glad to do it. But yeah, I think that's basically gonna do it. We are officially done with the Ys Origin playthrough. Guys, thank you so much for checking it out. We hope you enjoyed it. I absolutely adore this series, so do not think for a second that this is the last time we'll see the Ys series, because I'm sure it'll pop up on the channel at some point.
I wouldn't mind seeing you play more of like the newer games. Of course, like I've seen the reviews you put on our channel, so hopefully they release a newer game, a more newer game. I don't know how else to say it. I'm being an idiot. But yeah, no, definitely expect more Ys sometime in the future.
100%.
But yes, thank you guys for putting up with our crap, watching our videos, commenting, liking, and subscribing. It's been a journey.
Absolutely. And we implore you to hit that like button, subscribe, leave us a comment what you think. What did you think of our reviews? What did you think of the playthrough? Would you like to see us play any more Ys games? And we'll be back for more Two Stupid Gamers content for you very soon.
That's right, guys. Take care.
Bye.